In 1971, our next guest, Rosie Castro, launched a long-shot campaign for a seat on the San Antonio City Council. She did not win that race, but Rosie Castro told a local reporter then, quote, "We'll be back." Her campaign increased registration among Latino voters, and exactly 30 years later, her son, Julián Castro, won a seat on that same city council. Julián Castro went on to be elected mayor of San Antonio and later was chosen by President Obama to serve as Secretary of Housing and Urban Development. Rosie Castro's other son, Julián Castro, is now her congressman. Julián Castro recently testified to a congressional committee that the political activism he learned from his mother is essential to guaranteeing the right to vote.
It's fitting that I join you today to discuss the Voting Rights Act because just under 50 years ago, my mother was compiling data and research on behalf of the Mexican American Legal Defense and Education Fund for a presentation on the exact same topic that would be used in preparation for testimony to this very committee. She and many other advocates believed that there had not been enough progress on voting rights for Latinos, and that the 1965 Voting Rights Act had left gaps that states and local communities were exploiting to disenfranchise and suppress voters. Unfortunately, 5 decades later, I'm here for very much the same reason.
Tonight, the Texas House of Representatives has started debate on a voter suppression bill that has already been passed by the Texas Senate. The bill would make casting a vote even more difficult in Texas than it was in 1975. When Rosie Castro was working for the extension of the Voting Rights Act.
What impact did that, making sure that Texas was included and Hispanics were actually included in the empowerment of Hispanic voters, which are a racial definition in many instances, what did it do for this state?
Thank you so much. Thank you for the question, Representative Jackson Lee, and for your leadership. And that 1975 extension to language minorities was groundbreaking. And what it meant was much greater participation, particularly in the Mexican-American community, Latino community there in Texas, greater election of first-choice candidates from those communities that changed the face of governance across the state of Texas and in many other places. It empowered millions of people.
Joining us now, Julián Castro, former mayor of San Antonio, former Secretary of Housing and Urban Development, and much more importantly, joining us, his mother, longtime political activist, Rosie Castro. Thank you both very much for joining us tonight. And Rosie, let me begin with you and give us your view of the threat you're seeing to voting rights in Texas now compared to the challenges you've seen to voting rights in the past.
Well, you know, it's very similar to what we've seen in the past. The whole point of spreading the big lie, using that to say that we need to make sure that votes are secure is the kind of strategy that is used over and over again. You know, so it's almost like going back 50 years and having to fight this battle all over again. Everything that was done this last time during the voting, which was very effective to make sure that African Americans and Latinos were voting well, has been thrown out, or they're trying to throw out. For example, the boxes that can be put at different locations, as Houston did, that would be coming to an end. In San Antonio, that was not done because the person here in charge of elections felt that it could only be done where she had an office. But Houston used it very effectively. They're also looking at restricting night voting, and that was effective in Bexar County and throughout those areas of Texas that used it. It makes sense to try to do things that help expand our voting privileges, our voting rights, rather than to diminish them. Today we had an op-ed by one of the Republican legislators himself from Bexar County saying that the Republicans are wrong in trying to stop this voting, and they're wrong to do this voting suppression.
Secretary Castro, many people watching this unfold this year, this voting rights challenge that is being faced around the country, do not have the kind of historical view of it that your mother does. And many people your age, frankly, don't have that view because they don't have your mother there to teach it to them. What has it meant to you in the way that you frame this issue and the way you see this issue, that your mother has been working on it for decades?
Well, it's meant everything. I mean, she's been so inspirational. She's the reason that I got into politics and my brother Joaquin got into politics and public service in the first place. She gave us this sense that we should participate and that we should make sure the doors are open for everybody to participate. And so I think it's important that every single person out there, but especially our young people who are going to have to live with the consequences of the policy decisions that this leadership is making in the state of Texas, that they get out there and make their voices heard. And Lawrence, I was so proud today to see some of the images coming out of the state capitol in Austin, because that's exactly what we had. We had especially young people pushing back against these voter suppression efforts.
Rosie, when you were running for city council in San Antonio, every candidate had to be elected statewide. You helped change that so that there would be city council districts, and that's where the progress started to get built. Then it became possible to elect a Latino candidate, for example. What are the kinds of ways that you can see for where activists have to go from here if the Texas legislature does pass this bill? What are the kinds of things that voting activists are going to have to do in reaction to that?
Well, I know one of the very first things that will happen is what happened today in Florida. There's going to be lawsuits. I think Maldev has been very good at doing that. ACLU, several of the groups that joined together to try to make sure that we can keep our voting rights. We also are facing, of course, redistricting. And that has always been a problem in Texas, whether it was the Democrats back in my time and now the Republicans that always tried to redistrict areas so that they are elected. That will lead to lawsuits. I think that we have to continue the fight. We have to continue looking at the data, presenting arguments, and trying to make sure that more people understand what's at stake here. If you can do that, then we should stop seeing some of this voter suppression. The other thing we need to do is that, in my opinion, we need to elect a whole new group of leadership at every level of the state, because leadership is not even a word of what we have in the state of Texas.
I think in the control room, we have a picture of you, Secretary Castro, with your brother and your mother back in your college days, I guess. And I'm wondering, and I've always wondered about this about both of you when I've seen you and your brother and you've been on the show. What did their mother do? How did she do it? How did she get these kids in their super achieving? Well, but from I'm going to ask both of you, but I want to start with you as the son. What did you feel your mother was doing that set you on this road to super achievement?
I think it was something as simple as absolute love and giving both of us a belief in ourselves that we had value and that we could accomplish whatever we set out to. And, she was a Chicana activist trying to make sure that in our American society there was less discrimination. But at the same time, she gave us a confidence that no matter what, that we could overcome obstacles. And she showed us the way, raising us as a single mom. So she showed us that you can overcome obstacles. She was a powerful example to us.
Rosie Castro, when are you going to write your parenting book? Because I'm sure people out there want to know all of your secrets.
For like 10 years. Yeah, I've been asking.
Yeah.
Well, people ask about that sometimes, but I think that I'm going to leave that for other people to do. I'm very fortunate. My sons and their wives are really great parents too. So it's really fun to watch that with the grandkids as they're growing up and how nourished they feel, how loved they feel. And I think for us, what has been supremely important has been something that was lacking for my mother, who came here as an orphan she didn't get an education. And so she always instilled in us that it was so important to get your education. She really regretted that she couldn't finish beyond 3rd grade. And so for us, education has been something that all the family pushes for, not only for our family, but for everyone that we know. And we've always worked in that field. I think that that's extremely important. And I'm so glad to see that funding is coming more towards the educational area now, and perhaps even the first free 2-year college. We have that already in San Antonio, but hopefully we will get that throughout the nation.
Hey, thanks for watching our YouTube channel. You should know that you can follow today's top stories and breaking news and catch up on your favorite MSNBC shows all in one place. Download the NBC News app today.